The chapter opens dramatically with the protagonist, Ed Rothstaylor, facing disownment from his high-ranking noble family. He is accused of serious offenses, including using imprudent profanity in the presence of the Honorable Princess Silvenia, and wrongfully meddling in the Holy Silvenia Academy's entrance examination. The accusations also include disregarding decency and smearing the family name. Ed's belongings are taken, and his life as a noble is declared over. As he walks away, other students whisper about his disgrace, noting that he's been disowned and has even emptied his dorm room. They comment that he shouldn't have rigged the entrance exam in the first place. However, the perspective then shifts, and the true protagonist reveals that this arrogant Ed Rothstaylor is not actually him. He has entered a game. The game is his favorite game. The failed swordsman of the Silvenia, based in the magic school Silvenia Academy. He expresses frustration because, unlike typical transmigration scenarios, where one possesses a powerful character, he has become a third-rate villain who gets kicked out of the dorms at the beginning of the game. Specifically, the disowned Ed Rothstaylor at the worst possible timing. He immediately checks Ed's stat window. The stats are shockingly low. Stamina 3, Intellect 4, Talent 7, Willpower 7, Luck B. The protagonist is dismayed, noting that Ed's intellect is crawling on the floor, despite being in the Faculty of Magic, and his stamina is way too low, even for a noble. He quickly realizes why. Ed was originally just a third-rate trampy villain who appears in the early scenarios and was basically a blur in his memory. He then vividly recalls Ed's ultimate fate, shown in a corner of the ending credits. He was begging, looking like a damn bum. This beggar ending deeply disturbs the protagonist. Despite the dire situation and not knowing the reason for his transmigration, the protagonist declares, "But I won't let that be my ending. I'm going to make it no matter what." He assesses his current situation. Silvenia Academy is a top-notch academy, and graduating from it guarantees a secure future. Crucially, even though Ed was disowned, he had not been expelled from the school yet. This means the protagonist can leverage his extensive knowledge as a 5-time dedicated player of the game. His main goal becomes graduation. The immediate obstacle, however, is the enormous tuition fees. While the current semester is paid, he needs a scholarship for the next. With Ed's low stats, he doubts he can even avoid flunking, let alone get a scholarship. He decides to focus on the more urgent matter: food, clothing, shelter. He confirms he has enough clothes, but lacks a place to stay or food to eat for the night. Given Ed's bad reputation, getting a job is difficult, and he can't return to the dorms. He settles on staying in the woods for the time being, glad there's at least a stream nearby. With 10 days until school starts, he attempts to make himself suitable for attending school. He tries using windblade magic to cut tree trunks, but quickly becomes exhausted after just 15, which also makes him hungrier. He realizes using magic makes him very hungry. Remembering his grandfather's story about eating tree bark during a famine, he tries ignition on it, but finds the taste horrendous and vomits for 2 days, concluding that wood should be used for building houses. He then struggles immensely to raise the wooden frames for a shelter, despite his low stamina and lack of tools, barely managing to finish it. After constructing the crude shelter, the protagonist still yearns for proper food, specifically meat. He reiterates his need to hold out until school starts. As the protagonist is thinking about survival, he hears a voice calling Rothstaylor, and looks up to see Princess Silvenia, the person responsible for him being kicked out of the dorms, who questions, "You still haven't left this place?" She is clearly identified as the person who kicked Ed Rothstaylor out of the dorms. The scene provides a crucial look into the original Ed Rothstaylor's past. He was initially a minor villain, known for pursuing the main character's childhood friend. After being rebuffed, his vengeance led him to tamper with the main character's entrance exam for Silvenia Academy. His actions, however, were exposed by a girl concealing her true identity, who is revealed to be Silvenia Elias Clowell, the third princess of the Clowell Empire. Possessing an innate skill called insight, she could instantly detect deceit, and it was this ability that uncovered Ed Rothstaylor's lies, resulting in his public disgrace, disownment, and expulsion. This made him an object of disdain among the Academy's population. Back in the present, the protagonist realizes the immense power Princess Silvenia wields, and her clear intention to ensure his complete expulsion. Desperate to prevent this game-over scenario, he decides to employ a unique strategy against her insight. He will tell her a truthful lie. He begins by expressing gratitude towards her, a statement that surprisingly passes her truth-detecting ability. He then explains that the original Rothstaylor family was, in fact, a vile house secretly involved in human experimentation and destined for utter destruction. His disownment, he claims, while appearing to be a downfall, is actually a blessing in disguise, saving him from their inevitable ruin. This bizarre yet internally consistent truth passes her insight with shocking results. Building on this successful deception, the protagonist deduces that Princess Silvenia is in the forest to undertake Professor Glast's class placement test, a notoriously difficult examination designed to locate hidden magic beads. Knowing her ambition for the top-tier Class A, which requires finding a specific powerful golden bead, he subtly guides her. He points her towards a present he's left at a small grassy island under a giant tree known as Maeril's guardian tree. The scene reveals Princess Silvenia's internal conflict. Her insight confirms the location and presence of the immensely powerful bead. However, her pride and a strong desire to prove herself independently prevent her from simply taking it. She wants her achievements to be her own. Later, during the class placement test results, Professor Glast announces that only a select few managed to find the powerful magic beads for Class A. He specifically commends the student who found the bead at Maeril's guardian tree, Princess Silvenia. The subtle genius of the protagonist's truthful lie is then revealed. The present he left for her was not a golden bead itself, but a crude fishing rod. While he led her to the location of success, he did not directly provide the means for her to claim it as his gift. She still had to find her own way to utilize the information and succeed, thereby ensuring that Ed Rothstaylor technically didn't lie when he subtly implied she wouldn't enter Class A by his, the original Ed Rothstaylor's, direct intervention. As the new school semester commences, Princess Silvenia is seen keeping a close watch on Ed Rothstaylor. Meanwhile, the protagonist, now settled and having successfully fished for food, arrives at the school's opening ceremony. He hears whispers from other students, questioning his presence after his public disgrace, and whether he truly intends to continue attending. Despite this social stigma, he calmly enjoys his food, considering it a reward for the victor, and reiterating his singular goal. The goal is graduation. A girl in the crowd observes that he feels a bit different, and another notes that he eats quite mannerly. Although he feels like a different person, his deepest wish is simply for nothing to happen. The protagonist, still inhabiting Ed Rothstaylor's body, expresses his determination to survive and graduate. However, his quiet start is immediately threatened when he finds himself summoned to the dean's office, fearing imminent expulsion. He is surprised that he barely avoids it, and while the dean is unexpectedly smiling, the protagonist suspects Princess Silvenia's earlier intervention, though he doesn't fully grasp the details of what she might have said. Focused on his survival strategy, the protagonist reflects on his honed life skills and his chosen combat method, archery. He believes combining his life skills with magic training will make a bow the most effective weapon, allowing him to infuse arrows with spirit or magic formulas as his proficiency grows. He notes that while spirit formulas are currently out of his reach, they are a future goal. Suddenly, a new character appears, Janica Failover. She is introduced as a second-year student, top of her class, and a genius spirit sorcerer. Janica approaches the protagonist, recognizing him as Ed Rothstaylor and stating that Maerilda, a high-ranking forest spirit, has told her about him. Maerilda, she explains, is nosy and knew about him, an unwanted visitor, who had been cutting down many trees. Janica casually dismisses his past actions, asserting that it's the natural order for forest creatures to interact this way. She then reveals a small, adorable spirit in her hand, stating she signed a contract with it yesterday and asks if he wants to touch it. This leads to a critical revelation. The protagonist confesses that he cannot see spirits. Janica expresses surprise at this, but before he can elaborate, she announces she needs to leave to get food. Alone again, the protagonist reflects on Janica Failover's significance. He knows from his game knowledge that following the original storyline is crucial for his informational advantage. He realizes that Janica is not just any character, she holds immense importance in the original plot. The shocking truth is revealed. Janica Failover is the final boss of Act 1. Despite her seemingly naive and independent demeanor, she is a major antagonist in the game's original narrative. He is conflicted, as she is the only character who smiles at Rothstaylor, but knowing her future role, he struggles with how to interact with her. Janica then reappears, stating that since destiny brought them together, she has a favor to ask. She tearfully explains her desperate situation. Having been disowned, and in a pinch, she needs money. She offers to pay him back, emphasizing that's what friends are for. The protagonist realizes that despite her genius and top-of-the-class status, Janica's humble background means she relies on scholarships for her education, and her true weakness is money. He tries to politely refuse, not wanting to get entangled with such a pivotal character, stating he doesn't want to stray from the original story. A short time skip of 3 days passes. The protagonist continues his rigorous daily routine, commuting to school, which surprisingly increases his stats, studying diligently from borrowed books, washing his clothes, and preparing his food and firewood. He laments his meager 4 hours of sleep due to his demanding schedule. His solitary routine is interrupted when he senses another presence, He confronts whoever is following him, only to find Lucy Maeril, the actual protagonist of The Failed Swordsman of Silvenia, and a rare genius. She is surprisingly asleep in the forest. He's shocked that she's there, but she quickly hushes him, complaining he's too loud and that a wolf as big as a house is talking to him, not her. The protagonist is dumbfounded, as he still can't see spirits. Lucy explains that the spirit keeps talking to him and is asking him to someday save Janica at all costs. This ominous request leaves the protagonist in a state of deep concern. However, he quickly realizes the complacency of this thought as the scene transitions to the joint combat training, which is described as a mock one-on-one combat exercise where students primarily use fake weapons to minimize lethality. The arena is bustling, and various key characters from the game are introduced or observed participating: benevolent Princess Fenia, spirit sorcerer Janica, wicked Klebius, golden daughter Lortel, and slothful Lucy. The protagonist notes that the list of important characters could go on, but the most crucial person is the protagonist of the original game, failing swordsman, Taylor. The protagonist already knows the general results of these duels, and doesn't pay much attention to the matches, because the first-year winners, like Taylor, are the same as the protagonist of the original game, except for one person. His attention is captured when Janica Failover, a second-year student, excitedly approaches him. She seems to have forgotten their awkward previous encounter, where he asked her for money. She informs him that the list of matches is out and asks if he's curious about his opponent. The protagonist initially feigns disinterest. However, he then has a sudden realization. Since the original Ed Rothstaylor would have been expelled by now in the game's timeline, he himself must also have a match. He frantically wonders who his opponent will be. He resolves to perform to the best of his ability, stating that it doesn't matter who he's fighting, as he needs to pay attention to Taylor, referring to his own character in the game, whose life as Taylor McClure he has lived through countless times from the perspective of a player. He acknowledges that although his current life is from a world beyond the screen, he has lived as Taylor for so long. The announcement for the next match then comes. Lucy Maeril. Is there a student named Lucy Maeril? The protagonist, remembering their previous encounter, wonders aloud where Lucy went, as she appears to be absent. The proctor urges her to come up to the arena. Lucy, yawning, eventually takes her place. The match is announced. First year, top of the class, Lucy Maeril versus Taylor McClure. The scene describes Taylor McClure as the protagonist of this world, born to be a swordsman who has never held a sword in his life. Yet, with his first swing, he cuts through Lucy's lightning-quick magic. Lucy is surprised that her spell, which she thought would hit, was blocked, and Taylor closes in, catching her off guard. Lucy then hits him with Lightning Strike, an intermediate-level lightning magic. Taylor is completely overpowered by this reflexively cast spell. However, Lucy is then disqualified for using intermediate-level magic, earning Taylor the honor of being the first to defeat Lucy Maeril. This is described as a legendary scene. Finally, it's the protagonist's turn to fight. The match begins, and he confidently charges forward, expecting to win. However, to his complete shock, the match is over almost instantly, and he finds himself defeated. He's bewildered, and whispers from other students suggest he can't win against the top of the class. They question the point of him running at a mage like Lucy barehanded. The protagonist, recalling his detailed knowledge of the original game, realizes his fatal error. Lucy Maeril did not use lightning magic against him, but wind magic. This unexpected deviation from her known abilities completely caught him off guard and led to his stunning loss. Lucy declared the victor, while the protagonist grapples with the bitter reality of his unexpected defeat. And as Taylor walks away, Ed's internal monologue quietly kicks in. Already calculating the fallout from this defeat, he mutters in his thoughts that this is going to be a big problem and that they absolutely cannot leave Taylor McClure alone, making it crystal clear that he isn't thinking about himself at all, but rather about Taely, the original protagonist of this world. Lucy's exit is accompanied by a narration drop about her remarkable ability, Protection of the Wind, an automatic defensive spell born from her contract with the high-class wind spirit Maerilda, originally never meant to be part of Ed's storyline, but now bound to him instead due to the diverging paths caused by his interference, a gain in strength that also cost Lucy her original development and pushed her away from the main trajectory. And while that realization simmers in Ed's mind, the arena speakers announce the next combat match. Ed Rothstaylor versus Princess Fenia alias Cloel. And even as the crowd erupts with excitement, Ed stays locked in his own world of guilt, self-reflection, and urgency. Blaming himself for Taely's loss earlier, whispering in his heart that all of this is his fault, that his very existence is displacing the real hero, mentally sending a message of support to Taely. Don't feel so down. Your efforts will definitely pay off. as he tightens his grip on his chosen role as the narrative's scapegoat, convinced that if the world must throw suffering at someone, it should be him, not Taylor. And this thought snowballs into a private pep talk as he walks, one that sounds less like a player and more like an older brother. Then the focus shifts as the story dives into Princess Fenia's insight, a misunderstood ability often seen as divine. Though the narration makes it clear that her gift isn't a miracle, but a self-made skill, forged through years of navigating the backstabbing royal court, where smiles are masks and lies are currency, and so her power to detect falsehoods became her blade. And as the scene snaps back to the arena, she stands opposite Ed, trying to make sense of the contradiction in front of her, while students murmur all around, questioning how a known bully like Ed Rothstaylor is suddenly cheering for Taely, wondering if he's just pretending to be noble after everything he did, and the narration openly confirms it. Yes, Ed was once a total scumbag. He abused his power, rigged test scores, humiliated others for sport. So who is this new Ed, and what's his angle? Fenia locks eyes with him, confused, recalling his earlier encouragement to Taely, "Don't get discouraged," and wonders if there was real pain behind those words. The duel begins. Now, let the combat begin. And Fenia, thinking sharply to herself, prepares to end it decisively, conjuring wind and fire magic, while Ed braces himself, calculating how to respond. But before he even finishes his first spell, a colossal burst of water magic slams him backward. Boom! One-hit KO. The crowd goes wild. What? He's even worse than Taely. Got wiped out in one shot. Some laugh, others cheer. And amid the chaos, Ed lies on the ground, smiling faintly, saying, "That was a good fight. I learned a lot." But deep down, he's wondering if Fenia ever cared about the match itself or if she was chasing answers, because she hasn't looked him in the eye once. She was fishing for truth, not victory, and he knows it, which is why he tells himself to tread carefully. Suddenly, she approaches him, clearly agitated. "Ed Rothstaylor," she snaps. "Princess Fenia?" He stammers, caught off guard, as she demands to know what he's doing alone, who he really is, why he's acting so strange, and when Ed tries to play dumb and brush it off with a casual smile and say he learned a lot, she erupts. "Learned a lot? You weren't even trying. You just wanted to get off the stage." And Ed, completely stunned by her raw frustration, gently tells her, "Princess, inhale, exhale, just breathe." And it's that unexpected calmness that throws her off, making her pause, and then, as if embarrassed, she tells him to forget the conversation, blaming her upbringing for always trying to read people, and begins to leave. But suddenly stops and asks, "You tried to cut ties with your family because you knew of their dark side, right?" And although Ed knows that's only half true, he denies it, but Fenia doesn't buy it. "There's no way I'm wrong," she says, before demanding the real answer to the question haunting her. "Why are you cheering on Taylor, the guy you bullied?" And Ed, scrambling for a lie that might pass her insight, says it's just an image thing, that maybe people will hate him less if he supports Taely, but her insight flashes. Lie. And when she steps closer, asking him to say it again while looking into her eyes, he keeps fumbling, trying weak excuses, all flagged by insight as lies, until finally she backs off, saying she has no proof, just instincts. And then notices he's distracted, looking at the door, clearly desperate to leave. And as Ed hurries out, he reflects on how heavy Fenia's burdens must be, how even someone as powerful as her paused, not because of his words, but because someone finally saw her, really saw her, and that's why he turns back and tells her gently, "Relax. Enjoy the academy. Forget the palace for a while," leaving her frozen in place, stunned that anyone understood her so deeply, whispering inside, "He saw through me." And yet, Ed is already sprinting down the hallway, heart pounding with a terrifying realization. If Taely gives up, my life here, this whole world might end, and as the panic builds, he yells out for him. "Taely!" Racing past students and echoing halls until he finally finds him, broken and battered, slumped against the wall, and just as he's about to reach him, she appears. Ayla Triss, the main heroine of the scenario, stepping between them like a sword drawn, her eyes burning with cold judgment, and her voice cuts sharper than any spell. "Ed Rothstaylor? No more. Don't bother Taely anymore." The protagonist's attention is drawn to Taylor. He is genuinely surprised to see that Taylor, who appeared completely defeated moments ago, has revived. The protagonist observes Taylor closely, internally noting the impressive manifestation of a fighting spirit that never falters, and a willpower that's clearly evident in his eyes. He acknowledges this with a simple, "I see." Ed then reflects back on his own recent duel with Princess Fenia. He recalls that during that time, Ayla Triss, described as Taylor's biggest cheerleader, had rushed away immediately, emphasizing her singular and unwavering focus on Taylor. He then notices Ayla still standing faithfully by Taylor's side. This sight leads the protagonist to an internal realization. With Ayla by his side, Taylor will rise to his feet again and again. As he watches Taylor, who briefly looks up at him, the protagonist wonders, "What are you scheming?" He then affirms his extensive knowledge of Taylor's journey through the game. "That's right. I've seen through lots of experiences with Taylor, and been with him till the end." He contrasts this deep, game-defined connection to Taylor's original path with his own current, unscripted role. He concludes this internal reflection with a strong sense of personal relief, signaling his dedication to Taylor's success. The protagonist's internal monologue continues, delving deeper into the nature of his relief. He clarifies that he's not relieved because the game's story has returned to its original track. Instead, his relief stems purely from the fact that Taylor, whom I was with for so long, is still okay. For him, Taylor's well-being and continued presence are paramount. The scene shifts dramatically to a different combat training match, featuring a powerful and visually impressive display of magical abilities. The protagonist internally recognizes this as a specific, important event from the game's timeline. He notes that this event is unfolding differently from the original script, as it was supposed to take place in a more public setting. The powerful magical exchange on display is then identified as belonging to Golden Daughter Lortel and Spirit Sorcerer Janica Failover sparring. This immediately highlights the importance of this specific sparring match within the unfolding narrative, as it involves two key characters from the game. The intense magical sparring match between Lortel and Janica continues with vibrant and destructive magical effects. The protagonist observes this display intently, aware that Taylor and Isla are watching. He then delivers a critical internal warning directly to Taylor. "Keep your eyes peeled, Taylor, because one of the numerous trials approaching you, the Acti final boss, is Janica Failover." This dramatic revelation confirms Janica's major antagonistic role in the game's first arc, adding a layer of significant tension and danger to her seemingly friendly interactions with the protagonist. The sparring match concludes, and Janica Failover is met with a chorus of enthusiastic cheers and congratulations from her fellow students. They exuberantly praise her as a top student who defeated a new opponent, complimenting her personality and spirit sorcery. Janica accepts the praise with a seemingly humble and demure response. However, her polite facade drops immediately as she issues an abrupt and imperious command to a group of students blocking her path. "Move aside, please." This subtle but firm shift in demeanor hints at a less innocent and potentially more demanding side to her character. The students continue to laud Janica, now a central and powerful figure, due to this altered event. The protagonist reflects on this major deviation from the original game's plot, noting that Janica's increased prominence will bring more complications. He decides it's best to avoid Janica and other main characters altogether, explaining that entanglement with them causes his mind to spin. A time jump, indicating that 2 weeks have passed since the joint combat training, establishes a new timeline. The protagonist is shown diligently engaging in his daily survival routine, including fishing. He reflects on his newfound peace, able to focus on his studies and survival without worry, and notes his improving stats. His solitude is suddenly interrupted when Lucy Maeril appears, while he's partially undressed from fishing. Lucy, unfazed, casually asks him if he likes being naked, then explains she's drawn to his secret fishing spot because it feels exciting, like an adventure. She then shifts gears, stating she wants to talk and needs some advice too. The protagonist reacts with surprise to Lucy's request for advice. Lucy explains her reason. In the joint combat training, she hurt someone and feels she overreacted. She confesses her lingering guilt and asks him directly, "Should I apologize to her?" She adds that her friends would advise against it, claiming the other person was in the wrong first. The protagonist considers Lucy's dilemma and advises her to apologize, "if you think you're right," emphasizing her own conviction. The narration provides context about Janica's popularity, but the protagonist understands a deeper truth. Janica knew that mere support doesn't erase wrongs, which is likely why she sought him out earlier for money. He then praises Lucy, stating she never takes my side unconditionally, seeing a unique, honest quality in her. Lucy clarifies she doesn't misunderstand his compliment. Lucy clarifies her earlier statement, assuring him she isn't offended. She then shares her unexpected observations of the protagonist's true nature, noting he's changed from last year. She reveals that Janica, despite her bubbly exterior, is observant and noticed his lack of desperation when he asked for money, interpreting it as him subtly telling her to keep her distance. Lucy concludes that she finds those sides of Ed reassuring and wishes everyone were like him, expressing a strange comfort. The scene dramatically shifts to the next day. The protagonist is visibly troubled, declaring, "This is serious trouble." His internal monologue delves into the harsh realities of the game world. It's a masterpiece, but very few people have seen its ending, due to frequent bad endings. He begins listing grim examples for Taylor. If you save a girl during a kobold ambush in the class placement test, you discover the secret of the Golden Daughter, who then arranges Taylor's assassination, leading to Bad Ending 3. He continues another example. If you skip Ayla and unite with the Golden Daughter in the monster-slaying practice episode, the bad ending examples continue. If you unite with the Golden Daughter, Ayla has fallen off a cliff to her death because Taylor was supposed to rescue her. Another bad ending if you protect the Golden Daughter from a fire spirit leads to Taylor being burned to death. As the protagonist is lost in these grim reflections, a girl's voice demands his attention, asking how long he plans to ignore her. He tries to run, but she follows relentlessly. He turns to confront her, and she is fully revealed as Portel Ketcheln, the failed swordsman of Silvenia's fourth heroine and the business magnate Elta Ketcheln's only daughter, also known ominously as the Golden Daughter. She states, "I'd like to buy 2 hours of your time, Senior Ed." The protagonist internally immediately identifies her true nature. Lortel Ketcheln is designated as the hidden hero. He elaborates that, unlike Fenia, Lortel was treated as a villain from the start, and her true colors were only revealed in the later half of the story. He recalls that players would reach a crossroads, having to choose between Fenia and Lortel, when they understood Lortel's loneliness and anguish. Portel, observing his silence, gently prompts him, Senior Ed?" The protagonist internally recognizes that he can't fall for her words right now, understanding that if I play this as Lortel intends, I'll lose the initiative. Portel, sensing his hesitation, insists, "You can at least hear me out, can't you?" She sweetens her offer, saying, "I want to help you out a little." The protagonist, recalling her reputation, internally dismisses her words as insincere, thinking, "Don't say things you don't mean." Portel, with a seemingly innocent smile, presses on, "Oh, my senior, how can you say that about the respect I hold for you?" She then states, Seeing you is such an inspiration to me. Even under such difficult circumstances, you continue learning." Of course, you being arrogant and self-centered is not exactly unheard of. But who cares about that? Ha 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 ha. Portel finally urges him, "Please listen to my offer first." Portel offers, "I'll give you 3 gold coins as a down payment." She then reveals her true request. "You're quite close to Senior Jenica these days, right? Can you help me befriend her?" The protagonist internally acknowledges the significant amount of gold, realizing, for some, it's a whole month's earnings. He questioned her methods, saying, "Does the Great Golden Daughter buy connections with money as well?" She verbally tells him to keep it for now. "You see, I'm aware that the more people on my side, the better." He realizes, this girl, she intuitively realized this, that she'd be in a political fight with Princess Fenia for the control of the Academy, and that she must start gaining allies from now on. Protagonist says, "Sure, let's at least shake hands on that." His internal monologue shifts to a dark reflection on wealth and despair. For people who have been wealth all their lives, a moment of poverty is enough to crush their heart. He continues, but surprisingly, for people who face such predicaments, chump change tends to become their downfall. They eventually sell their families, their pride, and even themselves for the sake of a gold coin. He cynically concludes, preying on the desperate is just that easy and simple. He then thinks, sadly, that's how it should have been, implying that for the original Ed Rothstaylor, accepting such a humiliating offer would have been his expected downfall. She mutters, "How amusing." He then considers the implications of accepting Portel's offer. "Had I gotten that, it might have made things easier for me." However, he quickly dismisses this, recognizing the far greater danger. Though it is a shame, I can't even imagine the horrors I'd go through if I had gotten stuck between the newbie crusher and Jenica. He makes a firm internal decision. I have to avoid anything that increases the chances of change in the original storyline at all costs. His overriding goal of survival hinges on adhering to the known game script. The scene shifts to that night. It focuses on Lortel Ketcheln, who didn't feel humiliated by Ed's clear-cut rejection. Instead, on the contrary, it awakened the unrelenting spirit within her to turn Jenica Failover into one of her people. Lortel then encounters Jenica. Lortel, with a sympathetic expression, remarks, "You know, there was a big fuss about me using forbidden intermediate magic during the joint combat exercise." She then states, "It's been a while, but I wanted to apologize when I got the chance." Jenica, seemingly surprised, asks, "So the wound hasn't healed yet, huh?" Lortel expresses a seemingly innocent desire to just wanted to see how great the top sophomore student was, referring to Jenica. Jenica remarks to Lortel, "I'm sure it'll heal quickly. Don't worry about it too much, Senior Jenica." Lortel then makes a comment about Jenica being similar to the main characters in fairy tales, and asks if it would be easier to manipulate her using her guilt. This is an internal thought, or a separate narrative voice, revealing Lortel's true manipulative nature. Jenica then comments to her, I guess the talk with Ed went well, huh? Lortel surprised. What are you suddenly talking about? Janica replies, I tell them to restrain themselves when it comes to personal matters, but the spirits sure love chatting. This implies that Janica's spirits, or her own heightened senses, are picking up on Lortel's manipulative intent. Janica then recalls Ed's words to her. Can you help me befriend Senior Janica? Though I'm touched by your willingness to invest gold coins so willingly for me. Janica says, you know how they say you can't buy sincerity with money. Janica admits internally, to me, Ed's approach is a bit more moving, you know? She then wonders if she act too smug about myself. Then Janica leaves saying, I've been getting a lot more support lately, so I have to work even harder. Sorry about other day, you were hurt because of me, weren't you? And I hope you get better soon. Lortel embracied this is hard, but just now, she strangely looked on the edge. Janica then reflects on the pressure she feels, because it's really nice when people expect good things from you. This reveals her inner turmoil and the burden of high expectations. The scene shifts to the next day. The protagonist, outside his shelter, is startled by the arrival of Belle Maya, the senior maid of Silvenia's finest dormitory, the Opolis Hall. He immediately recognizes her. She's the maid who kicked me out. Belle Maya, with a knowing look, reveals, I know you're staying here, and adds, Lady Janica talks a lot about you. This confirms that his efforts to avoid entanglement are failing. Belle then comments, I didn't realize you were living in this state, though. Observing his rudimentary camp, the protagonist attempts to feign indifference to Belle Maya's words as her words fell on deaf ears. His gaze is fixed on a basket she carries, which he deduces must be the finest ingredients that this elite maid gathered from the forest. He realizes this is high-grade information on foraging that I can't get from books. He then mentally checks his game knowledge. Let's see. The event where Belle Maya could impact the main plot. She advised him students to talk down to her, as they would in Ophiel's hall, but he refused, and immediately saying, how could I talk down to a maid who's always working so hard? He concludes, so there isn't a single event where Belle Maya had a direct impact on the main plot. This means interacting with her for information is safe. The protagonist then engages Belle Maya in conversation, asking about that basket. He then states, then I guess there shouldn't be a problem with us, extras, becoming friends. Belle Maya then provides him with the explanation of various edible berries, mushrooms, and herbs. His crafting proficiency has increased. He successfully creates a fish farming net installation, which will help him secure food. He notes, I have plenty of meat and fish. My dietary needs are almost solved. He also realizes his ignition, fire magic, and windblade, wind magic, spells have reached level 10 proficiency through constant use, even though he still only has 2 basic spells. He then crafts a herbal tea from the herbs Belle Maya taught him about. He reflects that using the tea while working increases your survival rate drastically. He concludes his day's work noting, I'm done with my work, and yet the sun hasn't set. The protagonist, feeling satisfied, internally admits, if I'm honest, I have to admit I'm having a bit of fun with this. This marks a rare moment of enjoyment for him in his difficult survival. He continues to reflect on his progress, right up until now. Suddenly, a massive explosion of light and force erupts at his camp. He is violently thrown back, landing with a grunt. He looks back at the destruction, horrified, muttering, What on earth, my precious camp? His hard work and new sense of comfort are instantly obliterated. The protagonist, panting heavily, surveys the devastation of his camp. Amidst the smoke and rubble, he spots a familiar figure collapsed on the ground, radiating light. He cries out in shock and confusion, Lucy? She muttering, that just about killed me. Just about killed you? Indicating she too was greatly affected. Lucy then states, she's the world's most powerful mage. Who could've? This suggests she's thinking aloud about the perpetrator of the attack. The protagonist then focuses on Belle Maya, the maid from Ophiel's hall, recalling her name. Ed confirms Belle Maya's involvement by saying, but she's a good person. The scene then shifts to a flashback or a recent event involving Belle Maya. Lucy explains, I just ditched class as I usually do, but she was kinda moody for some reason. She continues, so she came with her fist clenched tighter than usual. Lucy then reveals how she survived the attack on the camp. It was all so sudden that I just teleported out of there. She sighs, phew, and comments, I thought it would hurt. The protagonist, frustrated by Lucy's actions, yells, Ha! Miss Belle Maya. He accuses her, damn it, you ruined everything. The protagonist, still angry, exclaims, what the hell is the life you live? He then observes Lucy, who has fallen to the ground, noting, she's not using any protective spells. Lucy confirms, I ran out of all magic. The protagonist's anger boils over. He states, then this is for my house that you just destroyed, and launches an attack at her. He further declares, and this is for the oh-so-motherly Miss Belle Maya. As he stands over her, he determinedly states, "I need a sturdier house." This implies he's punishing Lucy for the destruction she indirectly caused. The protagonist begins his new project. Let's build a house out of real wood. He reflects on the practicality of visiting the library, realizing it's a huge plus to gain knowledge amidst his busy life. He's working through materials for planning and necessities and thinks internally, all that's left is the method of smoothing the wood and finishing the roof, I guess. As he works, a school official announces, it's closing time. A new student approaches him. She observes him diligently studying and speaks, "You're studying really hard." The protagonist, surprised, looks up and speaks, "Has it already been that long? I'm sorry about that." The student replies, speaking, "That's okay. Seeing someone like you study so diligently really boosts my motivation to study as well." She then introduces herself, speaking, "My name is Elka Elin, Faculty of Magic Year 1. The protagonist looks at her, and he internally notes her eyes seem to be using her eyes to plead me to tell her my name. He then reluctantly reveals his name, speaking, "Id." Elka reacts to his name with a familiar reaction. The protagonist internally laments, as always, this guy's notoriety just doesn't go away. He thinks, no surprise there. I've only been living diligently, but there's no way that changes anything. Elka then interrupts his thought, speaking, "You're extremely different from what the rumors say, you know?" She continues, speaking, "You've even read all the books on elemental studies. They're hard for me to understand in just a few days." She then points out, speaking, "Even right now, you've read through over 6 technical texts while sitting here." Elka refers to the rumors about Ed, speaking, "They say you act all arrogant when they don't even know anything." She concludes, speaking, "I guess rumors are not to be trusted after all." She then shares, speaking, "I know someone who is just as sincere as you, senior." She then bids him farewell, speaking, "Have a safe trip back," and adds, "I'll be cheering for you." She explains her immediate plans, speaking, "I'm going to clean up and head back to my dorm." As Elka walks away, the protagonist observes her, and a text box appears. What is this? This signals a sudden and alarming development regarding Elka. The subsequent panels show Elka walking, then collapsing, surrounded by dark, tendril-like magic. She is being consumed or attacked by this ominous force, completely contradicting the peaceful scene that preceded it. The scene shifts dramatically to a chaotic environment, identified as the final chapter, Glass Can Showdown. The location is a temporary camp in front of the student center. The narration explains, thanks to the main character, Taylor, and his friends' efforts, many students gathered at the camp. It also notes, it had been 2 hours since the unprecedented disaster. A girl observes this scene, reflecting, I saw it in a book on spirit magic. She identifies the ominous magical energy. That's a summoning rune to summon. The highest-ranked spirit of darkness, Glasscan. This reveals the true scale of the disaster and the powerful entity responsible. Princess Fenia, observing the scene, states, speaking, That's bad news. She explains the gravity of the situation, speaking, because there's only one person with a high enough spirit connection level to summon that many spirits. She deduces the culprit, speaking, It's highly likely our enemy is the one who went berserk due to the spirit of darkness, the Year 2 top student, Janica Failover. This confirms Janica, the Act 1 final boss, is behind the chaos. Taylor McClure, identified as Combat Faculty Year 1, stands among the students. She states, speaking, It's unfortunate, but this is not the time for this. She adds, speaking, If Ayla's right, then the barrier around the students will merely buy some time. Taylor concludes, speaking, If Glasscan is summoned, there will be more casualties. We need to head inside the student center. Other students agree with Taylor. Claire, captain of the Royal Guard, speaks, People outside the barrier will notice in no time. If the Imperial Guard and the professors deal with it, it'll soon. Alvira Aniston, Faculty of Alchemy Year 1, speaks, If it's the spirit of darkness, its barrier must be tough. We must solve this from the inside. He notes that Principal Obel is out of town as well. If everyone here joins hands, I bet we could even take down a high-ranked spirit, don't you think? However, Clebius Nortondale, the gloomy from the combat faculty, speaks, I'm against it. He then clarifies, speaking, We'll get through those intermediate-level spirits and subdue the spirit boss as well. You're going to enter the building and take down Janica? But that's not all. There's high-ranked spirits inside. 2 of them at that. He identifies them as high-rank Berserk Fire Spirit, Tarkin, and high-rank Spirit of Darkness, Velisfer. He exclaims, speaking, That's suicide! I'm not going. She then questions, speaking, But did she really do this all on her own? She clarifies, speaking, I mean, even for a Year 2 top student, isn't she way too powerful? She's summoning Glasscan while manifesting all these spirits at the same time? A girl explains, speaking, Most of it is likely Velisfer's power. Senior Janica is merely a medium to manifest it. Spirits of darkness, natural enemies of a spirit sorcerer. Their enormous power is simply beyond a spirit sorcerer's control. The demons that in fact take control of the spirit sorcerers are the reason all spirit sorcerers feel this way, because they become their prey. Yet, how Senior Janika, the most remarkable student in spirit studies, managed to command Velosfer isn't known to anyone. However, it immediately dismisses this, stating, "That's not what's important right now. What's important right now is to decide our course of action, and there is only one person who can decide that." All eyes turn to Princess Venia. Everyone urges her, speaking, "Princess Venia, please tell us." Everyone waits for her decision. Suddenly, the guy's nonchalant remark flashes through her mind, referring to Ed Rothstaylor's earlier words. "Whatever burden I carry, it can't be any heavier than what you carry, princess, can it? Why not have some peace of mind?" She then makes her decision, speaking, "We'll enter after an hour, but only me, my guard, Claire, as well as top students of each year in class will go." She clarifies, speaking, "Only those who have proven their ability will go, so make your preparations and toughen your mind." She takes responsibility, speaking, "I'll take the responsibility." A male voice, likely a royal guard, interrupts, speaking, "Princess, we're done assessing the resident employees of the teaching area. The Audrey Hall and Potion Archives are in the middle of a strike. It's unlikely they'll join us." Princess Venia speaking, "So we're the only ones who can take any proper action." He continues, "There's no other students aside from that." Another girl interrupts, speaking, "There is one." She explains, speaking, "I'm on my way from the library. In the student library, there's a friend of mine, an apprentice librarian, and a sophomore student in there." Princess presses her, speaking, "Apprentice? What's their name?" She replies, "Elka. Elka Elin." A guy student reacts with disbelief, speaking, "Elka? Did you just say Elka?" She confirms, speaking, Yeah, we're in the apprentice librarian class together, learning how to manage grimoires." He rushes, "Damn it. I have to rescue her right now." He states aloud, speaking, "Elka is powerless to defend herself." The girl's trying to calm him, speaks, "Calm down, Jix. The student library is really far away. Right now, subduing the cause of this problem, Senior Janika comes first." Princess adds, speaking, "That's right, Jix. She also said there's a sophomore student in the student library, didn't she?" She challenges him, speaking, "How about we believe in that student for now?" He is torn, stuttering, Ugh." Princess is then pressed directly by the girl student, speaking, "You definitely said there's another student there, right?" She struggles to respond, stuttering, the Uhyuk. He is then angrily questioned by girl, speaking, "What are you hiding? Tell me right now." His expression is grim, and she calls him, speaking, "Ed." He speaks with anger, "It's Ed Rothstaylor." She then reflects, "I'm sorry. He was sitting there all the way till really late in the night. I was annoyed, so I left it to Elka," she adds, speaking, "All of you know what kind of guy he is, don't you?" She's referring to Ed's old reputation. Elka doesn't care about rumors like that. So, other students enraged, calls out, speaking, Ed Rothstaylor?" He then states angrily, speaking, "Damn it, that shameless guy and the apprentice are stuck in the library all alone." Jix is furious about the implications of Ed's reputation and Elka being alone with him. Princess then shouts, speaking, "Jix!" indicating his deep anger. "Wait a minute. How about you? Have some faith in him." This sudden shift from anger at Ed to defending him and urging others to have faith is a powerful moment. He makes a fierce vow, speaking, "If he touches so much as a hair of Elka's, I'm going to beat you to a pulp." Ed Rothstaylor,